Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty show. And today we're going to get into the 2025 rookie class. So, whether you are in rebuild mode or contending, whether you're trying to trade off some excess baggage that you've got on your rosters to acquire maybe second, third round picks, either way, it is time to learn about these 2025 rookies. And so I've got a list put together. I do have it up on my Patreon that you can check out anytime you'd like. Just go to patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. It's $3 a month. You get my rookie rankings for next season. You also get my full dynasty rankings as well. They are up to date now and ready to roll. So let's get over to our rankings here for the rookies. And here we go. A little sneak preview for you. That's right. And up top in the class, we have, let's do it this way. Yes. All right. I'm going to have to do it. Let's try it. There we go. All right. Much better. So up top, we've got a couple of wide receivers again. That's right. Some tons of talent. We've got a Mike Evans clone up top with Tet McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona. Big guy, 6'5", 220-ish. And just a big, wide wingspan. He can go over the top and score. He's got a lot of long touchdowns so far this season. Just a monster. And any quarterback who gets him in the NFL will be more than happy to just chuck it deep or chuck it up to him in the red zone. Luther Burden, the wide receiver from Missouri, came into the season as the class's wide receiver one. I've moved McMillan just ahead of him. Burden is more of your route technician. Think of an Amon-Ra St. Brown type, Jalen Waddle, something in that mix is what I see from Luther Burden. So again, he'll be a great addition to any wide receiver room in the NFL. Now is where it gets interesting. Yes. So finishing off tier one, I have Jalen Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama, Carson Beck, the quarterback from Georgia, and Ashton Genty, the hot running back from Boise State. And so we'll start with Jalen Milroe. Bama came into last week just fresh off their victory over Georgia and went into Vanderbilt and took the loss in a rough one for the Crimson Tide. Milroe didn't have a great afternoon. He went 18 of 24 for 310, touchdown and a pick. Only 10 yards on the ground, did get a touchdown. So on the season now, Milroe is up to 1,274 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, just 2 picks. On the ground, he's got 283 yards and 9 touchdowns. Keep in mind, in college, they do subtract sack yards. So like last season, he finished with 468 yards. On 148 rush attempts. I would assume he lost probably 100 to 200 yards in sacks there. But Milroe, the reason the key is I have him up at number 3. Most other sites that you look at right now might have him ranked down near number 10. Okay. Even in Superflex, that's because they have Carson Beck and Shadir Sanders, and even the dude from LSU I've seen going in the first round. I don't know what they're thinking. But anyway, Milroe is the prototype of what kind of quarterback we're actually looking for in fantasy right now. We all know how Jaden Daniels has just exploded this season so far, the month of September and now into October. And Jalen Milroe is basically a Jalen Hurts clone. I mean, seriously, almost to a T. Jalen Hurts was solid at Bama. He led them to victories, but then, if you may remember, got replaced by Tua, of all people, in the national championship game because of an injury. And so then Jalen Hurts transferred the following year to Oklahoma, got to throw a few balls to CeeDee Lamb, and made his stock look better because he actually showed that he could throw the ball a little better. And that was still his question marks coming into the NFL, and that's why he didn't go until the second round. Now, I see a similar thing happening to Jalen Milroe. I don't know that he'll be a top 5, top 10 pick in the NFL draft. He may get selected near the end of the first round and definitely in the second round. But point being, that's the type of quarterback he is, and he's the type of quarterback that is very fantasy relevant. That's the key. So I don't know. I have him up at number 3. The guy's a stud athlete. I see him as being more fantasy relevant than Carson Beck when it comes down to it. Carson Beck, I still have there at number 4 for the Georgia Bulldogs. And so he really showed up in the second half against Bama a week ago. And so he solidified himself for me as a passer, showing some mental toughness in that game. Those are the types of qualities that NFL scouts are looking for. So I do believe of the passing quarterbacks, Carson Beck is at the top. Now, how good is he? This draft class is not known for its quarterbacks, okay? You have Carson Beck, then you also have Shadir Sanders, who I'll get to in a minute. But they're not of the same caliber of Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or even Drake May for that. So Carson Beck, I don't know, is somebody that just walks into a franchise and takes over Trevor Lawrence style, okay? Even Justin Herbert style. Carson Beck may take half a season, maybe even a full season of sitting before he actually gets his opportunity. All right. So if you're not looking for that from your quarterback room, you may have to turn to the other positions. And here we go with the top running back. It's Ashton Genty. The guy is just a complete smoke show right now. Last week, he went for, let me bring up the numbers exactly. Boise beat Utah State 62-30. Ashton Genty just rolling it up in the first half. He finished the day with 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was all in the first half. That was on the ground. He hasn't shown much as a receiver this season, but keep in mind, last year he did catch 39 balls for 552 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is an awesome receiver for a running back in college. Last year he put up over 1,800 total yards, 19 touchdowns. So far this year, he has crossed the 1,000-yard threshold already on just 95 carries. So he's averaging over 10 yards a carry right now and has 16 touchdowns. This guy is definitely the front runner for the Heisman Trophy right now. I would say Milroe is second. But again, that loss this past week to Vandy didn't help at all. Boise is looking good as far as getting into the college football playoff, which is going to be in that expanded 12-team format this season, which draws a lot more excitement into the games near the end of the season. I'm sure not only me, you, or your league mates will be paying attention at that point because, again, at that point in the year, there's only going to be 2 or 4 teams, you'll either be in the semifinals or finals of your fantasy playoffs. So everybody else is going to be looking towards May and the NFL rookie draft. So I want you to know about them before those college football playoffs happen, just in case some of these guys don't make the college football playoffs. I don't expect Tet McMillan to be in the college football playoffs. Luther Burden is on with Missouri, is on the borderline. Missouri had been ranked number 9, and they lost last week to they got smoked at Texas A&M 41-10. And so Burden did have a decent day as far as I remember. Yeah, 7 for 82. See, he's more of a possession type receiver. Tet McMillan he's just a monster yak-wise. But back to Genty. Now, if it's a 1 quarterback league, he would be probably number 1 on the board. But being super flex, generally there's more wide receivers that can start, so that brings the wide receiver value up a little. And then there's the quarterback position, of course. But these quarterbacks here aren't on the elite level of, say, last season's Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. So just keep that in mind when you're making your trades this year. If you're acquiring firsts or looking to get rid of your first, just keep that in mind for your... Oh, Chandler is in the house. He's got this question again. I like Bijan on this one. As long as you have... Who is your QB2, Chandler? I do like the Bijan side in this deal. I'm assuming it's more of it is a 6-point passing touchdown league. So that's why I want to make sure you still have a decent quarterback. Chandler is asking here, do I trade Stroud, Jerome Ford, and Rashad White for Bijan? 6-point passing TD, PPR, still have Purdy. Okay. Purdy is very solid. Go for it. Yeah, Chandler, this is a case where you're not really losing anything at the quarterback position, because I see Stroud and Purdy is pretty close. And I mean, when it comes down to touchdown passes, Purdy could easily out throw Stroud on the season. Yardage wise, I would bet Stroud all day. But as far as touchdowns, those are going to make up for the difference in yards. And so I wouldn't like to have Purdy just rotting on my bench, in other words. So now you get to play Purdy and upgrade immensely from Jerome Ford or Rashad White. I mean, Rashad White bounced back a little bit last week, but I think the Bucs are showing offensively that they're going to be in a 50-50 split pretty much between Rashad White and Bucky Irving. So even with the fumble, I think Bucky still gets his touches this upcoming week. They know he's a rookie, so they want to keep him active and not just demote and bench the rookie. He's shown that he can play at this level. So, yeah, go for it, Chandler. I like it. All right, back to tier 2 of the rookie running backs. Started off with, we've got Omarion Hampton, running back from North Carolina. He's a bigger dude, but still has moves. Think Najee Harris type, maybe Leonard Fournette. That's his kind of style Omarion Hampton is. Next up, I have Shedeur Sanders, and now I'm not a huge fan of Shedeur. Now, the reason I've got him so high still is because he's Deion's kid, honestly, and the hype will be there. Whatever team drafts him, he could very well be the first quarterback taken as well. So there's going to be hype behind that. But the fact is that none of these quarterbacks are projected to be the number 1 overall pick. So that means that they're not totally elite. They all have their warts. And so Shadir definitely could walk into a situation like, I don't know, who's near the bottom right now, record wise. Let me think. I was thinking the Giants, but now they just beat Seattle. So who is looking like dog shit? Well, the Raiders. Okay, the Raiders would be a perfect example. They would be a club definitely to take Deion's kid. All right, and then try to force him in right away. Now they do have Minshew under contract. They signed him to a 2-year deal, so this could be a perfect bridge opportunity for Minshew next season. Of course, Aiden O'Connell is still there, but they need help at the quarterback position, and it wouldn't shock me if the Raiders end up with the 101 that they just go ahead and take Shadir, because they have such an immense need at the quarterback position. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell just aren't going to cut it in the NFL. They're both backup quarterbacks, let's be honest here. And so Shadir Sanders is somebody who I could definitely see walking into that role. Now, if he does get that landing spot, you could bump him up a little just off of sheer volume and opportunity. But I'll go on the record. I still like Jalen Milroe better. And so that's where I'm at with Shadir Sanders right now. Part of it is Shadir, it just behooves me that he does not run the ball. The guy is a supreme athlete. And so maybe it'll happen at the next level. Maybe he's just trying to work on his pocket presence and make sure that he's going through all of his reads and Deion's teaching him that. I don't know what the deal is, but the kid's going to end up running at the next level. And so I do think that we'll see some rushing stats from him, but think lesser talented Caleb Williams. All right. Shadir has all of the arm strength in the world, but accuracy, that's another thing. So he needs to work on it. He's not terrible. I'm not saying that at all. He's going to be a top 10 pick for a reason. But so that's where I'm at with Shadir right now. Number 8, I've got Emeka Egbuka, the receiver out of Ohio State. He's definitely a solid possession receiver type for the NFL. And then to round out tier 2, I've got both Ohio State running backs. Of course, Quinshon Judkins, the running back who transferred from Ole Miss last season. And now he's splitting time with Travion Henderson in the backfield at Ohio State. So as you can see, I've already got 4 running backs here. So this goes against the grain of what had happened in the previous year's draft. So if you're needing a running back, this is the draft to hit them up. Let's move down to tiers 3, 4, 5. So this is where we're looking in the back end of the first round and into the second round of our rookie drafts. Top of the list here at number 11, I've got Quinn Ewers, the QB from Texas. He's been resting due to an injury. And in the meantime, Eli and Peyton's nephew, Arch Manning, who's looking like the 101 in 2026, maybe 2027. I don't know. He's a Manning, so he may stay all 4 years. But regardless, Arch Manning is now tearing it up for the Longhorns, and Quinn Ewers is just on the sideline. So I don't know. I'm not a huge Quinn Ewers fan. He's just he's kind of been pumped up by he was a 5-star quarterback out of high school, went to Texas, and now he's getting the big name. I just don't love him, put it that way. After him, at number 12, I've inserted Travis Hunter, the electric cornerback / wide receiver from Colorado. Now, here's the thing with Travis Hunter. if he decides to go full-time wide receiver and actually tries to perfect his craft there, he could be something. All right. As of right now, I've got him at the wide receiver 4. Some even say he could be the wide receiver 3. Now, I'm not going to put him up that high yet because we need points. All right. We don't need an electric Deion Sanders type that comes in for a few plays on offense each week and is playing full-time corner on the other side of the ball. We need a guy who's a full-time wide receiver if we're going to draft him in the first round. All right. That's what I look at. Travis Hunter, just like Shadir Sanders, I think is just getting pumped up because they're on Deion's team. So I'm putting them in here for the rankings just because that's where they probably will be drafted around that range. So you know what you're looking at when it comes to those picks. Next up, I've got 2 more wide receivers. Isaiah Bond, who's 6 foot 180 out of Texas, but not as good. I wouldn't put him on the level of Xavier Worthy. A.D. Mitchell isn't a bad comp. He's not quite as athletic. A.D. Mitchell is bigger as well. And then finally, there's Trey Harris, and Trey Harris is more like A.D. Mitchell. That's what I would see. Harris has put up some big numbers, though he trailed off a little this week, but previous weeks he had 3 straight weeks of over 10 catches. So Ole Miss has a strong team this year. We'll see if they sneak into the college football playoff yet. Moving down to tier 4, we've got Ollie Gordon, who was the Heisman frontrunner to start the season. He is tailed off a bit, so I've got him down into the middle second round range. He's also a big back. Think Leonard Fournette as well with Ollie Gordon. Then I've got the top tight end. That's Colston Loveland from Michigan. He's a big body and he can block. Put it that way. He can catch a little. I'm thinking like a Pat Fryermuth type tight end here. He can play all the downs, so he is going to get plenty of snaps on the next level. Who knows, though, how early that happens. It kind of depends on the team he goes to and whether he gets enough opportunity to actually become fantasy relevant. And rounding out tier 4, I got another running back, Nick Singleton, out of Penn State. He's a smaller, shifty back, 5'10"-ish, still 200-some pounds. So a lot of these running backs, the key is in this year's draft, as opposed to some of the guys in previous years, these guys are all over 200 pounds. They're all ready to go for the NFL. So we're going to see a definite change of the guard when it comes to the running back landscape. We have all these older backs like Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey. All those guys from the 2017 class are nearing the end of their rope. And so this class here, right here, could be the next class where we have one or two elite guys and then a handful, I'm talking like 5 or 6 dudes that will have good, solid careers in the NFL and take over those roles for guys like Aaron Jones, who have sustained and stayed healthy long enough to be producing in the NFL for quite a while now. All right. Next up, down to tier 5, I threw in some wide receivers. We've got Kyron Lacey, who's stepped his game up this entire season, starting week 1. He has just looked very solid, right in that line of LSU receivers. I don't see a Terrace Marshall here. Kyron Lacey is a solid route runner. He can run all the routes, and he should be able to be pro ready right away out of the gates. Tez Johnson out of Oregon. He's a smaller wide receiver. He's only like $170, And so he's put up monster numbers so far this season, but I just don't know how well his game is going to progress to the next level. But I want to make sure you're all aware of him as well. And then there's Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. Another, let me make sure on his size here. Nick Anderson is where is he? Let's see. He's still trying to find him because he was still recovering from injury. So that's where it's I'm having a little trouble finding him. There we go. Okay. So he's a junior. He has, yes, taller guy though. He's 6'4", 219. So big body there with Nick Anderson. Watch out for him once he does come back from his injury to start playing this year. Then I've got a list of a bunch of quarterbacks with potential. Kyle McCord at Syracuse. He transferred from Ohio State when he was kicked out the door there. He's been lighting it up for Syracuse. So he sees to me like a very solid backup quarterback in the NFL. Think Kyle Trask, maybe. That's what I kind of see with Kyle McCord. After him, Cam Ward, who has been shooting up the boards. He's probably a top 5 Heisman candidate right now. He is literally carrying Miami on his back. He pulled out the victory against California this last week, and they've stayed undefeated. I don't know if he can keep it up all season long, but Cam, of course, transferred in the portal from Washington State last year, and he's been lighting it up for Miami. So keep an eye on him. I don't know that he's big enough for the NFL, but I mean, not being big enough hasn't stopped guys before. So I would keep an eye on him. Jackson Dart does have the prototypical size for the NFL, and so he will definitely be drafted. I don't know that he's going to be drafted in the first round, though. He's probably more like a second rounder and a backup quarterback in the NFL. Dylan Gabriel's a little small on the small side. I don't know that he's ever going to be able to become a full-time starter in the NFL. Then I've got a couple other wide receivers to keep your eye on. That's Xavier Henderson from Cincinnati and Evan Stewart from Oregon. That's all I've got for you today. Now, again, any questions, just throw them to me at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty show, or check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty show. I can answer all your questions there. Check out my rankings, become a member, and remember, never stop working.